Good afternoon, YouTube. Today is Sunday, which is my weigh-in day for my weight loss journey that I'm sharing with you guys. I'll start off with my stats, and then I've got a bit of commentary to go along with it and some thoughts. So let's get straight into it. My overall body weight this morning was 16 stone 9.4 pounds, which is a reduction of 1.4 pounds from last week. I would be quite happy with that usually, but when I read out the rest of the stats, you'll see why I'm not particularly overjoyed. My fat percentage from today is 32.6%, so it's gone up by 2.4% from last week, and it's back to more or less what it was when I started measuring my fat percentage this time. My visceral fat rating is back up to 17 from 16 last week. My muscle mass this week is 10 stone 9.6 pounds, which is a reduction of 6 pounds, almost half a stone in muscle. Now, clearly that's not going to be actually accurate. Either last week's was slightly over, which is probably more likely, and this week's is slightly under what it really is. My scales aren't going to be that accurate, so I'm not going to be too worried about that I've actually lost so much muscle mass. Moving on, my basal metabolic rate in calories is 2,130, 2130. My metabolic age is 50 still. My physique rating, because of those changes in muscle and fat percentage, has gone down to number 2, which I think is not necessarily better than number 3. My height, my muscle percentage as in terms of my whole body weight is 64.1% this week, down by 2.3%. And I'm going to add to these figures my BMI, my body mass index number, and this week it is 34.1. Last week it was 34.3. So a slight improvement in that. So looking at on the bright side, there is some good news, but really that's all down to me losing muscle mass according to the scales. So anyway, what I take from this is there's no at the moment consistency with my readings. I'm taking them at the same time each week. I take them if you're interested in before I eat anything and after I go into the toilet in the morning on Sunday, and I do it naked. So I do it every single week, the same time, not same time, same time of the day, same day of the week. So there's consistency in when I measure, and it's the same scales, and the scales are in the same place. I think that my changes in my body is not consistent, so I'm not expecting there to be a straight line downward trajectory for my my body mass. It's going to fluctuate, it's going to plateau. I think that what I'm learning this time round is that it is quite difficult to get any momentum going. The first week was really good in terms of momentum, but it hasn't really continued. So I've got some thoughts about that, which I'll come to later on. So those are my figures, and then I've got a few thoughts that I wanted to share with you about this whole endeavour that I'm doing. So let me give you a bit of context, I suppose, first. This channel, this set of videos on this channel is my way of being accountable. So if I say on here I'm going to do something, that's like me promising someone I'm going to do it. So I'm not doing this to get advice from you. Please don't try give me advice, because I'm not going to want it. This is just for me to share my journey, the ups and downs of what I experience, and it's mainly to help me. It gives me a focus every week. I know that during the week I'm going to have to come back to you and be accountable for what I've done that week. If, as a byproduct of me doing this, you take anything from it that's useful for you, then great. But as I said right at the start, I don't know what that will be, and some bits might not be relevant for you. Now, I want to use this series of videos to actually genuinely share the ups and downs of this particular thing that I'm doing. It's weight loss. And there will be a lot more downs than in my other videos. Now, if you've seen all my videos, you'll know that I have two great anxieties and battles in my life. One of them is money, one of them is my weight. With my job, with being a self-employed courier, I feel that I'm in control of my money, and therefore I'm doing something about it. It's under control, and I'm getting there. So therefore I'm very positive about the money side. I'm on a journey. It's going to get better. But when it comes to my weight, it's not quite as simple as that. I'm not quite in control as I want to be. So therefore, there will be times when I'm down about this, and I don't know what to do. But please don't take that as an opportunity to tell me what you think I should do, because you don't know me and you don't really know how I work. So it's not about me getting advice from you, it's about me just sharing. I wanted to say at this point that about goal setting. So I think goal setting is really useful, and it's something I've never been very good at in terms of being consistent. I like goal setting as a concept. I don't really ever get to a point where I write them down and follow them, step by step, like analysing goals and putting into sort of annual targets and monthly targets and daily targets, and sort of ticking them off and having like a checklist type thing. Writing it down, I've tried doing it, it becomes demotivating. The way that I use goals is a much more nebulous way, a much more theoretical way. So I have in my head goals, I suppose I'd call them. So they might be about earning money, or relationships, or my weight, or my health, or anything really. And I then set myself SMART targets, and I'm assuming you all know what SMART refers to, but in case you don't, SMART targets are targets that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant to you, and time bound. And I found that acronym really useful in terms of coming up with targets that are useful for me. And my targets tend to be like a year. I tend to like a year target, or 6 months, months at an end. So I'd probably call this my goals. My goal, for example, for this is to lose a certain amount of weight and a certain percentage. But that's not really my goal, is it? My goal really is to feel comfortable in my clothing and to feel better about how I look and to feel healthy, to feel fit. That's really what my goal is here. But I kind of specify it in terms of a target weight, a target fat percentage. So I think goal setting, however you want to do it, is really important in whatever you do, be it business or personal stuff. And then I want to talk about my targets then. So I have explained what targets are, but why have I got those targets? Why have I got a target of 12 stone or even 12.5 stone? Well, it's very simple. At 12 stone from my height, my BMI will be just less than 25. And then according to the BMI charts, I can say that I'm a healthy weight. Now, I know that BMI is not, that useful a tool necessarily. It's quite an old tool, and it's a tool that I used growing up. And I, had the charts at school of the BMI and your sort of gradings. And I was always in the overweight grading on those charts. So, which was at school. And so that stuck with me in my head. So BMI is, for me personally, because of my age and my background and my experiences, BMI is the thing I fixate upon. I know that over time since then, BMI has been shown to be not necessarily very helpful for certain things, but I still use it for me because I want to get to a point where I can say from my BMI score that I'm a healthy weight. And I know that when I'm at that weight, I will probably feel healthy. And more importantly than all of that, if I get to that weight, it means I'm in control of my body and my weight. And that's really what this is all about, is being in control. If I was to really pin down what it is that bothers me about me being overweight, it's that I'm not in control of my body. I have one body, it's going to last a certain amount of time, and I'm not in control of it. My mind lets my body get out of control. So that's what it all comes down to, really, is having control over my own body. And so the BMI is just a handy, useful tool that for me has an emotional resonance. I've never been a good BMI healthy. I've always been either obese or clinically obese. And so that is why I have a target of 12 stone. My target for fat percentage is 15%. And you may be asking, why is it 15%? Well, I'll tell you why. It's a round number and it's quite low. That's all it is. There's no reason. I got down to 18% previously, so I want to do a bit better than that. If it was 16, 17%, 13%, I don't think I care. Just have some target for fat percentage. I know that fat percentage is important. I know I want that to be lower. If I had no number, I couldn't make it a smart target. So it's just 15% because it happens to be something that's relevant, achievable, time bound, smart, specific, measurable. And then everything else in terms of my weight loss journey comes off that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was my steps, and I think I'm quite happy with what I said, my 6 steps. But I didn't mention one thing about them, which I think has become more obvious to me. Each step is not independent to the next one. So my step 1 is the first step I have to achieve to start my weight loss journey. It's about getting my mind right. And my step 2 is the next step. But step 2 has to also incorporate step 1. Step 1 never goes. I have to always have my mind right. I'm now starting to do step 6. But I'm still doing step 5, counting the calories. I'm still doing step 4, counting the days where I have good days. I'm still doing step 3 and 2, not buying the crap, all the things that I've said previously. So every step up until now has to be in place every day. It's just when I have another step, it's making extra effort or extra fine-tuning that I'm adding to my journey. So it's not about doing step 1 and then leave that, go to step 2. It's about step 1, then step 1 and 2, then step 1 and 2 and 3, then step 1, 2, 3 and 4. You get what I mean? So I will in a future video talk more about the psychology, because I think that's my first step and it's fundamental to any of this working. I haven't really got my head around what I can say about it, but I know it's so important. I'm going to talk about my reflections on this week now and what I've kind of discovered from doing the stats this week. So if you've seen my videos on my career videos, you'll know that one of the days I was really, way up to Scotland, I was really struggling to sort of be what I would call good in inverted commas. I was really tempted to buy some chocolate. I felt tired and hungry, and weak is the word I used in the time. And that probably happened a couple of times this week, but the rest of the week I felt in control. And because I was able to use the video to say how I felt, that got me through that day. So that reinforced to me that the videos I'm doing are really important for me. They are making me, every day of every week I'm doing this, I'm always mindful at the end of the week I've got to do a video about my progress. And if I sit here in my van and tell you I ate some chocolate, and I said to you I wouldn't do that, it's like I'm being dishonest or lying. Well, if I don't tell you it's lying, if I do tell you I'm not doing what I said I would do. So it's a really useful thing for me, for my sort of way of looking at the world, to have this accountability. I don't really want a person in real life to give me the accountability, but people that are you out there who I don't have to talk to directly, you are really useful for my accountability. This week I did have 7, in inverted commas, good days. I didn't buy any takeaways or any bad food. I did stick to my dietary plan, and I did exercise okay. Enough exercise that I thought I'm going to improve that. In terms of exercise, one of the things that I've realised I need to focus on. Actually, I haven't given you stats for that yet, have I? Let me give you my stats for my averages, actually, before I go into that bit. So last week, my average calories eaten per day was 2,215, 2215. That was a reduction of 540 calories from the previous week on average. According to my Fitbit, the number of calories that I used up each day on average was 3,392, 3392, which was again a reduction of 759 calories from the previous week, so that was not so good. And then my steps on average was 5,281 per day last week, which was an increase of 1,210 on the week before, but still not as good as my first week. And so from those figures, I looked at my steps figures and I realised there were some good days there, but there were some days where I was about 3,000, 3,500. So my first aim for this week is I'm going to try and make a minimum number of steps each day of 5,000. So if I can have no day less than 5,000, and some days will be actually more than that, then I think that's a good way of me consciously making my steps go higher. In terms of my calories eaten, I'm implementing a couple of things this week, or from this week. I'm no longer going to have honey in my porridge. I'm going to put sweetener in instead. I'm going to keep having the fruit, but just porridge, a teaspoon of fruit, of sweetener and fruit. And also in my sandwiches, I'm no longer having any kind of salad cream or margarine or any kind of that kind of creamy filling. It's just going to be the actual solid fillings in the sandwiches. So that will slightly help. So there's a bit of finessing with what I'm going to have. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and have my average calorie intake for this week is 2,000, no more than 2,000. So we'll see how that goes. That's quite a good aim at this point in time. And I think if I can do those things, the steps, the calorie intake, and carry on doing my sort of not eating crap, then I feel confident that my weight stats were better next week. Okay, I think that's enough for now. Thank you very much for listening to this video. Hope you have a good week, and I shall see you